of bitterness is just like poison. When you find yourself being bitter with someone in a human relationship, then you have allowed poison to enter into your system. Bitter means causing painful emotions, felt or experienced in a strong and unpleasant way, angry, unhappy because of unfair treatment. In the Bible, bitterness is known as spiritual poison and means, and that's by the means in which they are defiled. Jesus said in Hebrews 12 and 14, follow peace with all men and holiness without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God. When you allow the root of bitterness in your heart, then you have failed the grace of God. And so the Bible tells us that many are defiled by the means of bitterness. Bitterness can be tricky to recognize because it's not a symptom with it, or it's not visible on the surface like anger. The person is mad, you know it. You know, they can hide it so long, and after a while, human relations are push it up and push it out. But bitterness is hard sometimes to recognize. Many claim that they aren't angry or they are not hateful, you know, but that's not what bitterness is all about anyway. It's an underlying problem that doesn't always manifest on the outside, but dwells in the person's system. So what you have to understand is you might have some poison in your system today that the Lord wants you to get free of before it kills you. High five somebody, say, Woo! Bitterness is a root. It's a root. A root is a part of the plant that grows underground, the cause or source of something. So the root of bitterness is underground. Something in the surface makes it grow. Human relationships. What is a root? Well, a root is a source. Every plant has a root. If the root is no good, the plant is no good. But you cannot see the root of this plant, but the plant looks pretty good. But the source of this plant is not the plant. It's the root. Oh my God. So a root is a source or a bubbling fountain that is laying under the surface. Roots do not directly manifest or make themselves known. So in other words, the root of this plant is not making itself known. But this is making itself known. The foliage is making itself known, but the root is hid. But for so much foliage, it has to be a root. Ordinarily, that's under the soil. Can everybody see a root system? No. But we see this from here. But no. Because it's hidden under the soil or surface. The same is true with bitterness in a person's soul. It's a hidden element that lies under the surface, and out of it springs up anger and other negative emotions against others and against the circumstances around us. I'm going to say it again. The root of bitterness is in our system, and it springs up anger and other negative emotions against others and against the circumstances around us. Why is it that so many believers can't get along with each other? Bitterness. The root of bitterness is in them, and they're angry. Let me tell you something. Because you cannot see the root of bitterness, you can ask a person, what's wrong with you? They will stand you down for 16 hours. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Even though you can't see the root, you see the surface. And the surface is saying that you are angry. And if you're angry, there's got to be something underneath the surface that's making you act like you act. That makes you treat people the way you treat them. There's something in your system that needs to be dealt with. People who have a root of bitterness find it easy to get upset over things that others are doing around them. It's like a brewing fountain that lies beneath the surface, waiting to fuel something that's on the surface. Let me say this. Countless countless men and women are going through because of things that has happened in their lives. They're going through emotional and spiritual bondage. There is a lot of spiritual bondage in this house, emotionally. Why do you suppose people cut you into pieces and they don't use scissors? They use their emotions. They'll tell you off in a heartbeat the way they look at you or what they don't do. It's because something under the surface is fueling what you just said. And so, countless women who have been molested develop an awful emotional and spiritual bondage. It's not because they were even molested, but because they allowed the trauma to get to them. I know some of y'all saying, well, Pastor Campbell, you know, this is a family church. Yes, sir, that's why I use that word, because I could have used something else. So I'm trying to tell you is what happened to you didn't make you bitter. But I say, I ain't going to deal with that one. No. What happened to you did not cause you to be bitter. You allowed the trauma of what you went through to make you bitter. But it didn't have to make you bitter. You would not forgive and walk away. You have to learn to forgive and walk away. Somebody say, well, see, Pastor Campbell, you just don't understand. I ain't been there. I've been there and you don't understand. Yes, I do. I understand more than you think I understand. The things that we go through in our lives that wasn't good, that wasn't fair, does not have to make you bitter. But we take the situation and don't turn it loose, and we don't walk away from it, and we become bitter. What you fail to understand is it goes on the inside of you into your soul. And there is a root there. And so you ask yourself the question, why am I going through this all my life? Because you allowed that root to be there all your life. You failed not to forgive and walk away. Sometimes things that happen to you, you just cannot sit and dwell on it, sit and dwell on it, sit and dwell on it. If you want to not be bound with it, you have to forgive the individual and walk away. You can't look for, you cannot look for revenge. and walk away. And when you walk away, then you do not come under the drama and traumatize of your soul. Bitterness don't happen. Why? Because you forgave and you walked away. Woo. There's a man by the name of Clinton Clark once said that from his observation, it seemed that boys who were molested by older men forgave the molester and forgot about it right away, walked away without picking up an unclean homosexual spirit. But those who allowed the drama to bother them and failed to walk away, they walked away with homosexual spirits and other bondages. Some of you all are messed up because you failed to walk away. You failed to forgive them. And so when you don't forgive and you don't just walk away, then there is no telling what did you be tied up with. What kind of perverted spirit that we bound in your soul with? When you allow the trauma to bother you, to eat at you. My daddy won't dare, and I just needed a daddy. Well, if your daddy won't dare, you ought to thank God you found a father. And forgive your daddy and walk away. You ain't got to be tied down because you ain't with your daddy. If your daddy had wanted you, he'd been with you. But something was going on with the daddy had problems themselves. It's time to forgive people and walk away. So you won't be bound with the spirit of bitterness on the inside of you. So there you are mad with somebody because they got a daddy and a mama. I wouldn't be like this if my daddy was in my life. If my daddy was in my life, I wouldn't be. Don't even try that. You might have been worse. You act like God don't know. You act like God don't understand. God knows everything. Whatever God allows, God will bring you through it. God will bring you through it. My mama wasn't in my life, and I just know my mama this, that, and the other, and my mama did this. Stop blaming mama. Forgive mama and walk away from it. And when you walk away from it, you'll walk away from a lot of trouble that goes on the inside of you. You become bitter, and there you is treating everybody got a mama like they did something to you. And psychologists say, and psychologists will take your money and tell you, they act like that because so and so and so and so and so. The devil is a lie. No, you act that way because you went to the trauma and didn't walk away from it. Y'all. My son got killed on a bike in 1999. If there's anyone that should have been bitter, was me. He was my musician. God raised him up. He was birthed for the purpose of playing the organ behind me. The brother was bad on the organ. But the devil tried all his life to destroy him, to take him down. And before God would allow the devil to destroy him, God rescued him and took him home. And I'm going to be bitter because God rescued him? You got to be out of your mind. No. I forgive myself for what I thought in my mind, and I tell God thank you, and I walked away. When the Lord had me to understand that child is not your child anyway, that child belonged to me. I had a pastor say to me, I don't know how you made it. If they had been my child, they had died, I'd still be talking to God right now. I listened to what they had to say. It was not going to pull me back into the drama that I'd already gone through, because if God can't handle what I go through, if God can't handle me, God took care of my child, so therefore I just walked away. So don't tell me you're going through what you're going through because of a human relationship. You want an excuse to be ugly. You want an excuse to be mean. You want an excuse to be act like you bad and all that and some more. But you need deliverance because it's going to poison you, and when you have children, it's going to poison your children. And everyone everyone you come in contact, you will poison them. There will be many poison because of the trauma you went through. And Christ is saying, follow peace with all men. We can't have peace with people, with believers, because we're hung up. We are bitter. We are bitter. The root of bitterness is inside of us. And you can always find somebody to agree with you. Keep on drinking the poison. And you all making many poison. You say, well, no. Every time you tell somebody else what you think and how you feel, you spreading the poison. Okay, so maybe they did do you wrong. Forgive them and walk away. Demonic spirits gain access into a person's life through abuse and through molestation when you don't walk away. Through the trauma in your life, demon spirits gain access to you when you don't forgive and walk away. So you have to understand that it's not the abuse or not the molestation, but it's the bitterness and the unhealthy feelings that build up within a person who has been taken advantage of. We have all, somewhere in our lives, been taken advantage of. Say amen, anybody. But because you've been taken advantage of, doesn't mean you got to live it the rest of your life. And it doesn't mean that you try and pay back other people for that one person that took advantage of you. We can't live with each other. Got too much bitterness. It's in us. The root of bitterness is in us that needs to come out of. Demons thrive on bitterness and unforgiveness. It's a wide open door for them to move right in a person and develop spiritual, mental, and even physical bondages. Bitterness will make you sick in your body. It'll make you feel like you're losing your mind. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You need to forgive the person and walk away. Somebody say, well, you just saying that and it ain't all that easy. You better take God with you. It's when you take God with you. Or send him before you go. You see, because there's somebody somewhere gonna deal with you. Just like you are dealing with somebody else that did you wrong, how many people have you done wrong? They gotta deal with you. Bitter. You know how bitter, you take something, you put something bitter in your mouth, you just all kind of frown up and look sort of bad. That's how we do saints. That's how we do human relations. 1 week we're speaking to them. The next 3 months, I ain't got nothing to do with them. They bitter. The root of bitterness poisons you. And it poisons those around you. It poisons many. That's what the scripture is saying. And so, bitterness being a root. Okay. Some people that has been traumatized and whatever, men and women, they have such a nice personality. They're kind and they're gentle. They're loving people. But inside they're so bound up because they was done wrong many years ago. because they aren't angry and throwing fits, outrageous individuals, does not mean they're free. Bitterness is a root. A root will stay right there and wait on you. And roots promote ungodly anger and other emotions on the surface. But bitterness itself works under, it works, it's in you. It's in your system. And the thing that we don't understand is a mature person know you're bitter. That's right. By what they see on the surface. How you going to walk up in the house of God and around the saints of God and talk to your girlfriend about what your husband didn't do? With your bitter self. You're bitter because they didn't do what you wanted them to do when you wanted them to do it. So now you're bitter. And now you're going to make other people bitter against them. Is that godly? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That root of bitterness, you need to release it, let it go, and walk away. But Pastor Campbell, you just don't know what I don't want to know. If you tell me your story, I got to tell you mine. I'm not going to tell you mine. But it don't matter. Don't you understand that as a pastor, what I go through on a week-by-week basis, you don't understand. When I can preach you this message and I'm free with it, now you got to understand, I deal with people. But I'm here to tell you, I made up my mind, nobody sending me to hell. If I'm going to hell, I'm going to send myself. And I ain't sending myself. So I learned to walk away. Forgive them, let it go, and walk away. You have to learn to forgive them and walk away. No, I ain't got that many friends. That's okay. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. You have to learn to forgive them and walk away. You can't just hold it and hang it because it goes in your system. When it goes in your system, after a while, the surface will be different. Your smile will be different. You smile, everything is different because the root of bitterness is in your system, and now you're showing something else on the outside. So what are you saying, Campbell? I'm saying this. Stop trying to think you're the only perfect person God has. Because you're not. Stop trying to think that you're the only person that don't make mistakes. And that you're the only person that's worthy of being forgiven. Because you're not. Live peaceable. Live in harmony with people. That's what the Lord is saying. Live in harmony with people. You know, live in harmony. Be peaceable with people. Okay, so they don't like you. They don't particularly care that much about you. And you know that. Still live in harmony. Don't let what they feel about you bother you to the point that you get traumatized. And you drinking poison. Yeah, I need a little water because drinking poison. How much poison y'all had this week? Anybody been drinking poison this week? You never know when your last sip gonna be. You never know when it's gonna take you. You never know when it's gonna take you under. They be getting on my nerves. I cannot stand them. Take a sip. You know, I wished I had married the other person. I don't know why I married you anyway. And I'm sick and tired of you. And you just get on my nerves, and you think you just so whatever and whatever and whatever. And you get on the Facebook and say, I just need somebody to help me here because you know how married people are, and they just so-and-so, you stupid somebody. Did I say that? Okay. How you going to put your business on the street like that? You need some deliverance. Need some deliverance. And so now the whole community is talking about your trauma. And everybody got something to say about your trauma. And you going to take it up and read everybody's. Oh, my God. This is going to help you, isn't it? Yeah. And you're going to read everything everybody say. Why are you going to read something somebody said and you know they don't like you? Hold this. Church time. You come in the house of God, the word of God is preached, you come to the altar. What you want prayer for? I don't know. I just need some prayer because the Lord to help me to hold on because it's rough, and I just need God to help me, and I just need you to pray with that I'll be strong and help me and all that kind of stuff. All that poison you done took in this week. You can walk away from the altar and just tell God, I think I'll be back to you another time. But this one here, I can handle it. You can go to your situation in the human relations and say and forgive them. Forgive your husband. Forgive your wife. Forgive your daddy. Forgive your mama. Forgive your children and walk away. And I can tell you that when you walk away, there'll be a strut in your walk. There'll be a praise in your soul. Something on the inside will happen to break and change. Because the devil would be a liar. And the root of bitterness will not possess you. And the devil can't do to you what he wanted to do. Because the Lord is on your side. It's time for the saints of God to understand him. It's time to follow peace with all men. Stop just picking up certain folks. Because, honey, on the inside of you, there's something going wrong on the inside of you. It'll mess up your mind. You can't even think straight. You can't even act straight. You can't even look straight. The devil is a liar. And it's time out for him winning in the household of faith. You need to understand that God's got somebody that can help you walk away. I hear you. I want to, but I can't. The devil is a lie. Yes, you can. For I can do all things through Christ Jesus. That strengthens me. If you really, really want to walk away, I don't care how long it's been and how bad it was. If you want to really walk away, if you really want to be free and you don't want to be bound any longer, the grace of God can help you. He'll give you the strength to walk away. He'll give you the strength